So, what if your affirmations not only don't work, but they're pushing you further away from what you want? Hey, everyone, this is episode 2 of the No Excuses podcast with Ryan Montes and Alana Banks, the authentic coaching podcast for people who want the real goods. So, hey, Ryan.
I also want the real goods, by the way. I'm for that all the way. The real goods.
Well, we're going to be delivering some goods for everyone today.
Yes.
We're going to be talking about affirmations and why they don't work and why they could potentially be pushing you further away from what you want. I read a caption on your Instagram feed recently where you were talking about this topic, and I'd love for you to unpack this a little more for us.
Yeah. Every now and then I'll hear something, or I'll just think of like a little line about life, and I'll throw it on Instagram or Facebook or something, just expecting like nobody to read it, nobody to comment on it. And then every now and then it'll like spark a massive argument basically. And yeah, recently I said something about affirmations and it sparked a massive argument in the comments. Affirmations work, or affirmations don't work. You're doing them wrong. This person's explaining them wrong, blah, 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 blah. And the consensus is that there's no consensus, right? Some people are adamant that affirmations work and other people are adamant that they're a waste of time. I think part of it comes down to just the definition, is that people have different definitions of what is an affirmation, and people have different definitions or different ideas on how to use them. And also different people are different. So some people might respond to one thing that other people do not, and vice versa, right? I think that kind of question that we posed there at the front end of this episode, what if your affirmations are not only not working, but they're pushing you further away from what you want in life? That's an important question to consider, because it's plausible. And I think that happens with some people, because here's the thing. Anytime you expend time or energy attempting to move yourself in the direction of something you want, and it doesn't happen, well, that's time and energy that you will not get back. That's time and energy that could have been otherwise used in a different way. There's also the psychological effect of believing that something is going to create a result for you, doing it, and then dealing with the effects when it doesn't happen. Sort of like investing in your buddy's business, and then it goes bankrupt and you lose all your money, and your friendship is ruined or whatever, right? So affirmations are this, it seems like a simple thing, but it's this highly contentious subject, especially when there's people who are thought of as thought leaders and gurus and authorities telling people to use affirmations and telling them to write them on their walls and mirrors and children's faces and wherever they tell them to put them these days. And in my experience, in my opinion, it's a multifaceted subject. Whether people say they don't work or they do work, who gets to be right? Well, it's not that simple, because everybody gets to be right. Right?
Yeah. And I think the question too is like, are they working for you?
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. Because if you go online and you literally type in Google, do affirmations work? You're going to get information about yes, they do, and no, they don't. And I think the important thing to remember is, are they working for you? Are you feeling 100% congruent with these affirmations that you're saying to yourself every morning? Or is it just becoming part of that autopilot routine that you do every morning? Like, you say you have a morning routine, you get up and you say these affirmations in front of the mirror, but are you getting results? Are the affirmations that you're saying actually showing up in your life? Or have you been saying the same things over and over for the last year and nothing's changing?
Yeah. I mean, that's a big question. And, it's one for people who are listening to put to themselves. But here's the thing. I mean, maybe the question is not, do they work or do they not work? Because that's probably, you made a good point. You can Google that question and get literally 10 million different unique answers to this question that all say different things and cite different things. Maybe the bigger question is there something better that people can be doing with their time and energy that there's less contention about, that there's less confusion about, that there's more reliability and certainty in? I think maybe that's, the way, the sort of social conversation around affirmations needs to go. Like, if something is that inconsistent and that contentious, well, what can we look to that's less inconsistent, that's more consistent, and that tends to get reliable, predictable results for people?
Yeah. And I think it's really looking at, how do they work? Understanding how affirmations can work, I think is going to give you better results. If you're saying something to yourself and it is not congruent with a belief that you have in your mind, then the affirmation it's going to be very difficult for that affirmation to stick, because basically you're saying something and your unconscious mind is saying, well, that's a lie. That's not true. I don't believe that. And so you're really going to have to say that affirmation over and over and over and over and over again until it does sink deeper into the part of your mind that where you can like override that deep belief that you have been maybe carrying around with you for 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah. I think we need to define what is an affirmation for those that are listening, that like, and how people kind of generally use them. What's your definition of an affirmation?
Yeah. So my definition of an affirmation is really like an I am statement. I am a very successful coach, for example. But if I don't believe in my core that I am a successful coach, if I have a belief running up here that says I'm a failure, I'm no good, who's going to listen to me, then it's going to be really hard for me to let that I am a successful coach sink deep into my belief system.
Yeah. I think similarly, I think an affirmation is just, for general intents and purposes, is just a statement that people say that is not yet true that they want to be true. I think that's the way most people, kind of use affirmations. So they'll say, I am rich. I drive a, brand new Lamborghini. I am this, I am that. And, I think the general rule of thumb is that repetition rules, right? If I say it enough, it shall become true. But I mean, like we said, for every person who's found success that way, there are people who've been saying affirmations consistently for years and not getting, the result. The statement does not become objectively true for them. So why not? And, Alana kind of alluded to I think is one of the big reasons, is the person just doesn't really genuinely and congruently believe it. When we genuinely and congruently believe something to be true, we produce thoughts, decisions, and behaviors that reflect that truth. So if somebody's affirming something over and over and over, but they're not getting the result, logically we know they're not producing the behaviors that would create the result that they want, right? So why not?
Yeah. I mean, you could be saying to yourself every morning, I am rich, I am driving my brand new BMW, but you may be super lazy and lying on the couch watching Ellen all day. So it's like you do need to become the person who is going to have the behaviors of a person who thinks and feels that affirmation. So often I do a self-image workshop with my clients. And in the self-image workshop, we write out I am statements. And so what I like to tell clients is, what behaviors are you going to do when you have that thought and feeling? So if you're saying, I am a successful coach, how do you show up in the world that day with that affirmation? Would a successful coach lie around watching Ellen all day? Or would a successful coach start a podcast, go on Instagram and create some content, look for 10 new clients? So your behaviors do need to match up with the affirmation that you're saying. And that's how you start to produce the results. It just doesn't happen. You have to produce those behaviors, kind of like what we were saying. So you can't just say these things and like wish it onto yourself or pull a bunch of oracle cards. I mean, I love tarot cards, oracle cards, all the things, the crystals, I do it all. But there's a deeper layer to it, which is the behavior, the action.
Yeah. When it comes to, getting results in life, I often think of results as, the metaphor of a jigsaw puzzle. And affirmations are great, and they might be an important piece in the puzzle for some people. But if the rest of the puzzle pieces are just scattered and upside down and soaked in water, like, and all these different things, the picture is not really going to come together, no matter how much you keep placing that one puzzle piece down over and over and over. And so, I admire that you explain it that way, where it's like, the affirmations work in collaboration with a self-image that reflects the goals that I want, in collaboration with behaviors and decisions and circumstance and, expenditure of energy and all these different things. So I will say, to address the topic of the episode, it's not fair to say affirmations do not work. I think it is very fair to say that often affirmations do not work, but they are part of, for a lot of people, part of the puzzle. And I think with a little bit of understanding, and you said it as well, training and understanding around how generally the mind works, we can start to see why for some people affirmations are great and some they're not. For some people, affirmations are a great way to remember consciously, what do I need to be doing today to move the needle, to move myself in the direction of what I want? Not all I need to do today is say my affirmations, and then I can go sit with Homer and Barney down at the bar all day and not do anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And I think sometimes what happens is, saying these affirmations can do a disservice to your self-esteem because you're like, I'm saying all these affirmations, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing and nothing is happening. So there's something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. All that is going on is you're not producing the behaviors that are congruent with those affirmations. So just check in with them. And I think it's important to do an audit every once in a while. It's a living and breathing document. I'm adding to it. I'm removing things from it. I am thinking about other ways I can achieve the things that I want. And so I think it's important to take a look at them. Like if you're someone's listening right now who has been saying affirmations and you're like, yeah, actually, I'm not seeing the results. I invite you to look at the list and kind of pick out the ones. Which ones do I really believe in? Which ones am I actually acting on? And then which ones do I love? And I want to see more results in that area. And then ask yourself, what can I be doing? What are 3 things I can do today to push me closer to that affirmation so that I can get the result? Because there's nothing wrong with you. You're not doing anything wrong. You just need to tweak some things a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking about it in the last episode. There's no such thing as failure. There's only feedback, right? There's no such thing as affirmations that don't work. It's just affirmations that have not worked yet. And how can we tweak the way we're using these and tweak what we're doing in general such that the results start to come more quickly, or such that we move at least in the direction of the results more quickly, right? So, in that vein, and you've mentioned, working on self-image. But if we're talking specifically about affirmations, we want to give the people what they came for. How can we, make affirmations more likely to work? As a hypnotist, and you are as well, there are barriers between, where we store our beliefs and what's happening around us. Hypnosis jargon, there's the critical faculty, the barrier between your conscious awareness and your unconscious or other than conscious mind. But I think we can all agree that there's part of ourselves that is designed to reject stuff that's not true and to accept understandings that are in alignment with our model of the world and that makes sense to us. So the first thing I think would be to formulate affirmations that make sense for you, wherever you are in the world right now. Even if they're highly aspirational, they should make sense for you. And then in terms of sort of permeating, getting through that boundary, because especially if you're earlier on in your personal development journey, or you're earlier on in whatever your journey is, probably your mind is erring on the side of rejecting new beliefs as opposed to accepting new beliefs, especially if they involve being outside of the norm for you, or outside of your comfort zone. So what can we do to maximize the chance that we're going to accept in these affirmations at a deep, subconscious level? And some simple ones are just associating them with positive emotions. Just lifelessly and heartlessly saying, I earn 5 figures a month, is really less powerful from the point of view of your subconscious mind, as you settling in and really visualizing what that'll look like, sound like, and feel like when you've already achieved it, and visualizing what in your mind, or imagining in your mind what it'll look like, feel like, be like, sound like when you've already achieved that result, is so much more emotionally involved. And we know the emotions are the domain of the subconscious mind. So now we're involving the subconscious in the process of considering these affirmations. And the other thing I'll say, which is closely related to that, is, timing and your state of mind. Timing and your state of mind. When are you focusing on these affirmations, these ideal beliefs? Is it when you're frustrated because something has gone wrong at work and it reminds you of how much you wish things would be different? Or is it when you're in a good mood and you have time to sit down and perhaps meditate and be in a state of growth, where you can really cultivate images of the future, or whatever you choose to do, right? So I think those are a couple of key considerations right there. Also consistency, right?
Yeah, I love that. And I think to add on to that, don't go to Google and type in the top 50 affirmations.
Yeah.
Sit down at a time, like Ryan was saying, when you're feeling calm, when maybe like first thing in the morning or before you go to bed, and really think to yourself, what do I want? What do I want? How do I want to show up? And those are going to be the affirmations that are specific to you. You can't Google your affirmations or download a PDF of like the best affirmations. They really have to
Yeah.
be personal so that you can get emotionally involved with them. And even if they are a bit aspirational and a little bit out of your comfort zone, what I like to recommend to people is you don't even have to use I am. You could even start off with your preferred pronoun, whether it be like she, he, or they. And then it could be like, she makes $10,000 months. She is a successful coach. And just write that out. And I also encourage you to write them out with a pen, not on the computer, not in your notes app. Like write them out, like get yourself a nice journal and write out these statements with a pen, because there is something, and Ryan, you may know the science behind this, but there is something about using a pen and like actually writing with your hand and then like the messages that go to your brain.
Yeah.
That's a lot more powerful than using like a keypad or something like that, or writing them out on your phone.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I would say too is to like add on to that emotional involvement. It could be like, say you want a BMW, but you don't have the money for a BMW. You can get into the emotion of it by sitting in the car that you do have and holding that steering wheel and imagining what it would feel like, if that was the steering wheel of a BMW.
Yeah.
So those are some other little tips you can use to just like really get into the feeling of those affirmations.
I agree. And I have to say, as much as everything that you just said is correct, I've kind of moved away from that way of doing things. I don't write stuff out anymore. I don't write I don't do a ton of journaling or anything like that, because I like to make it easy on myself. Everything Alana just said, by the way, very powerful, very true, very correct. Will likely, if you follow her advice, will likely get you results. Also, do what feels good for you. If it feels like a chore, it's not going to work for you. So, I've given some recommendations. Alana's given some really good ones. You want to be programming your mind to be in alignment with what you want in life. And you want to do it in a way that feels good and feels natural for you so that it can be consistent, right? So that, you enjoy it. So it's not a chore. It's not work. It's growing yourself in a way that you like. And I really liked Alana's advice. Don't Google the top 40 all-time best affirmations, because there's somebody else's thoughts. There's somebody else's ideals. There's somebody else's desires, right? Think about what you actually want and be aware of what comes up. If you try to think of a desired belief and a counter belief comes up in your mind that says, oh, I can't, because, don't just try to push it away and dismiss it. Consider it and think, what is this really saying? If you say to yourself, I'm going to make $10,000 a month starting in July, and you have a little voice in your head that says, no way, it's not going to happen. Well, don't just shut it down immediately. Maybe honor it and listen to what it's saying, and try to analyze why. Where is that voice coming from? What fear or protective mechanism is actually producing that voice? Because probably it's not that your unconscious mind doesn't want you to thrive and doesn't want you to earn what you want to earn. Probably it's trying to protect you from looking foolish, like we talked about in the last episode, or from, taking on too much risk, or from, some people have guilt or shame associated with earning decent amounts of money. And you won't change that until you allow it to come into your awareness a little bit, so you can decide that it's no longer true. So part of installing empowering beliefs is not denying the existence of disempowering beliefs, but understanding that they're there for some good reason, and that, once that their useful time has expired, we can move on from them, should we so choose.
Yeah. And that's where Ryan and I come in too, because we're both coaches in this space. And for me personally, that's when, my affirmations really started to kick in, was when I cleared out all of the stuff, all of the beliefs that were limiting me from, going after what I wanted. A lot of people have a fear of success, and that's a big belief that needs to be cleared out, because for some people success means like not being available for your family, or not being greedy or something like that. And so like Ryan was saying, it's like our unconscious mind is here to keep us safe. And so if we unconsciously believe that success is going to mean deviating from the pack, then they're not going to let that happen for you, right? So it's important to work with someone who's trained in clearing these limiting beliefs and installing more empowering positive ones through hypnosis and subconscious reprogramming. That's going to really give your affirmations a boost. Really install new, more empowering positive beliefs that are going to get you closer to the goals and the life that you want. Yeah. Which is what we want for you, which is why we started this podcast.
Exactly, right? Awareness is key. I mean, that's really what coaching is about. The client is in the maze, right? And outside of the maze is whatever the client wants, but they're stuck in this maze of old beliefs and existing patterns and whatever it is that has gotten them stuck. And the value of the coach is that the coach can be floating above the maze looking down. They can see the client, they can see where they are, they can see where they want to go, and they can see the obstacles in between. But from the client's point of view, they're just stuck in the maze. It's a totally different perspective. And so, and it's not even exclusive to coaches. It's, knowledgeable, wise friends sometimes play this role of being able to take an objective outsider view of a person's situation and give valuable advice. And sometimes all you need is just somebody to be able to do that and say, okay, you missed this one thing. And if you went down that avenue, if you went down that path, you might find what you've been looking for. So yeah, Alana has a good point. Get yourself in a position if you feel stuck, or, just if you want to expedite your results and you don't want to figure everything out all on your own, which can take sometimes more than a lifetime, get in touch with a coach, find a coach. And as I say, if you want coaching, go to Alana. If you want to get better at coaching, go to Ryan.
Yeah. And just a final note on that, I was going to say, getting a coach doesn't mean that you've failed either. Just like we were talking in the last episode, it's feedback. And it doesn't mean something's wrong with you going to get a coach. It doesn't mean that, you're doing it wrong. It's just giving you a new perspective. And I love that approach, because that's really all it is. You want to be successful, you need to have the feedback. Sometimes it's just a few tweaks. And even what we were talking about today when it comes to affirmations, I imagine most of you will walk away today with some golden nuggets that you can apply to your life. And I think that does it for this topic. I think we smashed that topic, Ryan.
We got it. Yeah, there we go. That's it. Never again will anybody question whether affirmations work or not.
Yeah.
Although I don't think we definitively said one way or the other, because really you can't. You can't.
You can't.
There's your answer, everybody. It's Schrodinger's affirmations. They neither work nor do not work.
Yeah, they just are. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
So thanks everyone for tuning in. You can find me on Instagram at Alana Banks Coaching.
You can find Ryan on Instagram at Ryan Montes NLP, or on the internet, ryanmontes.com.
Awesome. Thank you everyone. And we'll see you next time. Bye for now.